Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Hey, all you minties, Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition. And we are back with the X. That's right, baby. It's another X-Men Omnibus overview. Today, we're going to be taking an advanced look at the X-Men Onslaught Aftermath from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this Omnibus. This Omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on July 8th or 9th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the standard edition cover. This is the one that is supplied by Adam Kubert and is available everywhere. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover, and that is the one that is supplied by Steve Epting. And that one is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, bdcosmos.com, readcomics.com, comicsbugle.com, organicpricebooks.com, dyandbreedcollectors.com, forbiddenplanet.com, or your local comic book store, while the standard edition cover is available everywhere. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so let's shift the focus back to this. So, here we have brother versus brother. X-Men versus well, he was part of X-Factor at the time. Actually, he was part of the Brotherhood at the... Anyway, it is Havoc versus Cyclops. As they're falling out of an airplane. X-Men Onslaught Aftermath logo. I like the way the logo is placed right there. It's very interesting because this is also the cover that they used for the X-Men Onslaught Aftermath trade paperback. Now, of course, this collects a lot more than the trade paperback. And I think the trade paperback, as of this video, I think is out of print. We have the spine right here, Marvel Omnibus, X-Men Onslaught Aftermath. Little Franklin Richards right there, drawn by the phenomenal Jim Chung. And then you have this piece right here by Salvador Larroca, the Onslaught Aftermath, Mutant Mayhem in a Marvel Universe in Mourning. That's right, a lot of things have happened since last we checked on the X-Men. This I originally announced as a one-and-done omnibus that will also include like the Trial of Gambit and other stories, but because of a certain channel and because of certain viewers that kept finding things to add, Marvel decided to split it up into 2 books. So, it doesn't leave anything out. Everything is in here. Will there be a Trial of Gambit omnibus or a Onslaught Aftermath Volume 2? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and watch those announcements. And over here on the left-hand side, What Price is Victory? And this is really cool. It's all the creators that worked on the book. I'm sorry, not all of them, but a lot of the writers and a lot of the artists. Underneath the dust jacket, we have this piece from Joe Madureira with Tim Towson on inks. That piece again of Franklin Richards. And another piece from Joe Madureira and Tim Towson. Iceman holding his father, and Archangel back with these feather wings. So, we are going to crack this book open and talk about the stories found in here and take a look at the build and the extras of the book. But before I do, actually, let's put the dust jacket back on. Where does it fit into the reading order of X-Men in oversized hardcover format? Well, over here, right after X-Men Avengers Onslaught Omnibus and right before the Operation Zero Tolerance. Does it line up perfectly with Zero Tolerance? No, it doesn't. That's why I said maybe we'll need a Trial of Gambit Omnibus or a Onslaught Aftermath Omnibus Volume 2. And we still need a Road to Onslaught Volume 2 to match that up with Onslaught Omni. But now we can go ahead, open this up, and talk about the stories in here. And look at this artwork. All right, let's go ahead and get this book opened. Here are your end sheets. And X-Men Onslaught Aftermath, another dynamic piece here by Joe Madureira. And this piece right here, whoa, what is going on? I thought we were done with Onslaught. Well, I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. It is the X-Men Onslaught Aftermath. And here are some of the writers: Scott Lobdell, Ralph Macchio, John Francis Moore, Terry Cavanagh, Howard Mackey, George Perez actually doing that Silver Surfer issue, or the team-up, rather, or no, it's part of the X-Men Unlimited. John Ostrander, Keith Giffen. Forgot how many of these writers were just going around from the distinguished competition to Marvel during this time. And as far as the pencilers, you have Joe Madureira, Bernard Chang, Steve Epting, both Andy and Adam Kubert, the Deodato Jr. Studios, Ariel Olivetti, Greg Land, Paul Pelletier, Jim Calafiore, and Kelly Jones, just to name a few. Inkers over here like Tim Towson and Kevin Conrad, Art Tebert, Al Milgram. The colors like Steve Buccellato, Joe Rosas, and Mary Javins. And then your letters like Chris Alepolis and Richard Starkings. So, collected in here for the first time in oversized format is Uncanny X-Men 338 to 340, Uncanny X-Men Annual 96 and 97. Those are the years, 1996 and 1997. Adjectiveless X-Men 58 to 61. X-Men, Adjectiveless X-Men Annuals 97. And X-Men Unlimited 12 through 15, X-Factor 130, Magneto 1 through 4, X.S.E 1 through 4, Beast 1 through 3, Juggernaut number 1, and then material from the Marvel Holiday Special number 1. 848 pages, retailing for $100. So, we are in the aftermath of Onslaught, so let's go ahead and put the spoiler tag up in case I have to talk about some things that have happened in Onslaught in case you've never read it. What has happened in Onslaught that is changing the lives of the X-Men and really the Marvel comics as a whole? Well, after Onslaught, the Avengers and characters like the Fantastic Four and the Incredible Hulk are all shipped to another universe, the Image universe. They're there for a year, but at the time they didn't know what was going on in the Marvel universe. One of the things that happens afterwards is Archangel starts getting his wings back. So his metal wings are being shattered, and it's something that it was a gift from Apocalypse, and apparently what Apocalypse gives he can take away, and that's where his wings come back. I love that image. I'm a huge fan of Archangel. He was one of my favorite characters. I wasn't the biggest fan of giving him his wings back or making his colors not blue again and making him white again, because I like this tormented, tortured soul that he was that made him into Archangel. But you know, it's comic books. So the X-Men are trying to adapt. We have this legacy virus that is still killing some of them. We have some new villains that are stepping up, and they're going to cause a huge problem for the X-Men and all mutant kind. So let me fast forward through here. One of them is this guy right here named Graydon Creed, who has been a part of the X-Men storyline, kind of in the background a bit, part of this upstart story. Bishop is still trying to adapt to this new era after the revelation of who Onslaught was, because his whole purpose was to stop what we called the X-Traitor back in the day, but to stop the traitor from committing whatever crimes he did to destroy the X-Men, and he, in his head, feels like he's failed. We have Magneto, or maybe not Magneto, somebody calling himself Joseph, that has Magneto's powers, looks like a young Magneto, but is he really Magneto? That's one of the stories we're going to focus on here. And him joining the X-Men and, you know, having these feelings for Rogue, while Gambit feels like they're kind of driven away. We have focuses on all the other characters that were affected by Onslaught, such as the Juggernaut. The last time we saw the Juggernaut was him going inside of the Sidorak. So now it is up to Doctor Strange teaming up with this guy right here, Gamor, to go inside of the Sidorak and get out Juggernaut, so Kane Marco. So this works as a little bit of a flashback, too, about his relationship to Xavier and why he just doesn't like his brother. In between pages, you do have all these extras right here that were from, I think, some kind of X-Men magazine. You'll have them in between, not every issue, but a lot of issues. And this is an era of X-Men that I was not reading as it was coming out. I had stopped reading X-Men when this particular these particular months were coming out. So going back and rereading them when I went back to comics in 2002, there were some things I didn't pick up. such as the X-Men magazine that has all these little extra games in there like that. This issue right here focuses on the relationship between Bishop and Shard. Bishop finds out that Shard is now almost like a solid hologram that has existed in the pages of X-Factor, and she's built this kind of weird relationship with Kyle, that of, what is his name, Wildchild. And to Bishop's knowledge, Shard was killed by Mountjoy. We saw a little bit of that in the pages of the Bishop miniseries. This is the Hound storyline right here from the annual. And again, more extras here. All these goodies. This is the issue. I swear, every time I look at X-Men, I'm like, I'm not going to go through each issue. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. Unless people really, really like me talking about X-Men. Even the eras that I'm not fond of, I still have to talk about. I don't know what it is about X-Men. Okay, so this is the brother versus brother fight. Yes, during this time, Havoc was with X-Factor. However, he is tired of people telling them how to, like, live his life. So he left X-Factor to join not really the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but the Brotherhood of Mutants. And it's a big face-off between his brother as the X-Men are protecting, of all people, J. Jonah Jameson. Now, Graydon Creed is running for president, and he's still part of this Friends of Humanity. But there is an assassination attempt on him, and there are plans to assassinate him. And whether he's assassinated or not, and who's behind the plans to assassinate him, is this big plot that drives the X-Men into the next story arc, which will be the Operation Zero Tolerance storyline. Because through these pages, we're also seeing more and more of this character known as Bastion, who we saw in the first Onslaught Aftermath, like in that Omnibus. This is in the aftermath of Operation Galactic Storm. I just talked about this in the Silver Surfer Epic Collection. When the Shi'ar have defeated the Kree, and it's like everybody's trying to find their themselves out in space, and the X-Men get involved. We have another Juggernaut story here in this backup little story, again, dealing with escaping from the Cyttorak, or the Cyttorak. This is a really beautiful issue right here that focuses on the relationship between Iceman, so Bobby Drake, and his father. And in the previous issues that were collected, we saw that him and his father's relationships aren't the best, and Rogue even confronts his father about being a bigot because of his hatred towards mutants or anybody that looks different. So I think it's beautiful how Bobby deals when his father is beaten down and trying to protect him, and he kind of sees him as a hero. This is a very important issue, and that's why it's collected in here, and that is issue 130 of X-Factor, featuring not just Mystique, but also the X-Men. And during this time, it's also Valerie Cooper, and Forge, and Sabretooth, and Wildchild, or is he Wildside during this time? No, he's Wildchild during this time, and Shard, that are part of the team, as well as Random. So that will lead into another storyline. This is Kandra from the Externals, joining Storm for a particular mission that doesn't last very long. We do see the relationship between Psylocke and Angel kind of start drifting a little bit during these issues, and that's because of the addition of other characters that are joining the X-Men. I love this artwork right here. I love Jim Chung now. I think he's one of the greatest artists. I'm a big fan of what he was doing, like in Young Avengers, or anytime he's on a cover. But really, this era right here, this and Maverick, I don't know if people remember the Maverick series, this is my kind of Jim Chung. When he was going as Jimmy Chung, he was still young. I really, really like this. It's simple, it's got this anime flair to it, and I really enjoyed this stuff. This is a story that focuses on the Daydreamers, so Franklin Richards and Leech and Artie. Franklin is going to play a big part in everything that happened in the aftermath of Onslaught. This is a story right here that focuses... Sorry, I gotta go back a little bit. This is the cover that they're using for the Direct Market, right? Or, Direct Market by Steve Epting. But this is a story that focuses on Joseph. And maybe not everything seeming right in this world that he stepped in. But we finally get a little bit of clue as to the Game Master and what he's been up to since everything that happened with the Upstarts. We have the return of this character right here. Now, if you're a fan of X-Men comics and Maverick, and you have to get everything X-Men related, then you'll know that this character will play an important part later on in the pages of Maverick, and that is Chris, what is his name? Chris Bradley. This kid right here that first appeared in X-Men Unlimited number 8. He will go on to appear in the pages of Maverick and be known as Bolt. And believe it or not, he actually goes all the way to appear into the Weapon X storyline, which is featured in the Weapon X The Return Omnibus. And we have this annual right here. And I want to say this is the annual where Storm goes back to Africa and she's having to deal with these new villains right here. And the X-Men team up with the Brotherhood. Again, Havoc is now leading this Brotherhood of Dark Beast and Fatale. They're no longer evil, but when you have the Dark Beast, come on. And Cyclops, Phoenix, Storm, and Cannonball are teaming up with them to stop the, what are these people called? The Harvest, I think. It's like these humanity's last stand is who they are. And we'll be featuring some more logs that are living elsewhere now, not in the tunnels. Of all the people, I remember thinking, like, of all the people they could have gotten to draw the Magneto series, because this is the time when, you know, we're going, here, let's go back to the first issue, when we're seeing a lot of, like, anime influence type of art through here. They chose Kelly Jones, and I like Kelly Jones. I like what he did in Batman. I love his covers of Nightfall, but I just thought it was such a unique person to draw this Magneto series. So Magneto features the story, it's Peter Milligan and Kelly Jones, by the way, features the story of Joseph and trying to find who he is. Like, is he really the master of magnetism? Is he really the leader of the Acolytes? And speaking of Acolytes, they get involved in here. So it's like they're trying to make him remember who he was, whether that's putting a helmet on him or his whole costume. So there's this whole power struggle between him and Fabian Cortez, while X.S.E knows that he is Magneto. Like, he just knows that he is. So in here, you're going to find Frenzy. What is she going as? I think she's just going as Cargill right now. And people like X.S.E, Fabian Cortez. Who are the new... There's a new character, Orator, I think. Scanner's back in here. Sven's back in here. Harlan's back in here. And Kamal making a first appearance through these issues. But this is all about how Joseph deals with the Acolytes. And if he feels like he is actually a part of these Acolytes. And then we get the X.S.E. Oh yeah, baby. Everybody gets a miniseries, including the Xavier Security Enforcers. Which we've seen these characters appear, of course, when Bishop first appeared. But this is a... It's so weird to say flashback because the flashback is taking place in the future, so it's like but it's not a flash forward. But it is really the characters of Shard and Bishop, brother and sister, trying to reconnect and having this flashback of their missions together when they were in the X.S.E. So of course you have new characters that are introduced through here that will come back later on. I want to say that this is John Ostrander. Yeah, John Ostrander of Suicide Squad. Issue 2 is when the Deodato Jr. Studios comes in and starts drawing. It's not Mike Deodato, but it is his studio that starts drawing it. So it's, again, a flashback storyline that features Bishop and Shard, but also Randall and Malcolm after they go to try to get Mountjoy, and of course Fitzroy. And all these characters will play an important part through here. Shawn returns in the pages of the Beast miniseries, but she's not alone. There's also, yes, Gateway. I love that guy. Gateway and Viper making an appearance through here, and Spiral. So this is all the story of how Beast and Cannonball try to help out Shawn to get her brother and sister back. They're back in Mojo World. And how someone like Spiral can change her brother and sister. We do have the one-shot of the Juggernaut in here, too. I love that everything is in here. Like, this is the story against the fight with Despair. And you've got Black Tom Cassidy making a return through here. As well as this character, Spite, who first appeared in, I think it was the X-Men Unlimited issue. It's the connection to the Cyttorak. And then we have the Marvel Holiday Special, which we have a Wolverine story right here. Wolverine during this time, again, had no nose and was running around with Elektra, but they still were adding stories with him. In the back, we do have Marvel Vision, pages, but in between issues, you saw that they had like extras too. We have this variant cover by Steve Geiger. We've got this X-Men 9 Uncanny X-Men promotional art for the annual 97. More promotional art. And then original pages here from, man, look at those thick piece inks right there from Tim Townsend, from Joe Mad and Cedric Nacon and Kelly Jones. And then you have Wizard Magazine and Overstreet Fan Magazine. Let's look at the binding. 848 pages. Printed at the Donley printer. It is sewn binding. Very minimal bleed through happening here. And let me look at, let's look at some spread pages so you can see what the actual gutter loss is like. Man, Joe Mad. We'll just look at this cover right here by Ian Churchill. Or is it Art T-Bird? I thought it was Ian Churchill. Oh, it might be just Art T-Bird. But minimal gutter loss to be expected from a Donley printer Omni. But that's it. That is X-Men Onslaught Aftermath Omnibus. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. In the comments down below, let me know if you are picking this up, if you already have the trade paperback, or if you want everything X-Men in oversized format, and what other era of X-Men you would love to see collected in an oversized format. But that is it for me, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there until the next X-Men Omnibus.